Scheer says that he's going to cut 25% of foreign aid and use the money to help people struggling financially in Canada. What do you think of the Conservative approach?
The Conservative approach is a distraction. The Conservative approach is they continue to give billions of dollars to the wealthiest corporations. They cut taxes for the richest, and they don't invest in programs people need. We would invest in the programs people need. And we made it really clear. There's billions of dollars on the table that continue to go to the billionaires. We'd invest that instead in people. Canadians believe Canada should be playing a role in the world and making sure the world's a better place. And there's a lot of money we can be investing in Canadians, but that's when we stop giving billionaires billions of dollars. That's what we have to stop doing. And we've got to ask the richest in Canada to pay their fair share. That's what our focus is on.
And when it comes to EI and condensing EI when people on parental leave, can you tell me what the party plans to do?
On EI, we have a number.
Condensing it over parental leave.
Can you hear that?
Sorry, condensing EI during someone's parental leave.
Yes, yeah. So we know that the EI system needs a lot of changes to respond to the new reality. A lot of families, and a lot of people, a lot of workers don't have the traditional 9-to-5 job. They work precarious and volatile and not steady hours. And so what we want to do is have a universal threshold of 360 hours. Instead of having the previous requirement, which is difficult to attain for a lot of people, what we want to do is make sure there's a universal threshold, 360 hours. People can achieve that, and it'll allow for more coverage for more people. So that's a bold step forward that responds to the reality of a lot of workers that aren't working a traditional job with traditional hours. That's one. We do want to create flexibility. So for families, we want to increase the replacement from 55 to 60%. And we also want to make sure people can have the option of having reduced hour or reduced leave, but higher amount of compensation. So for the full leave, it can be as little as 33%, 30% of your salary in terms of replacement. We want to give families the opportunity to have a condensed period of time, but have more compensation. That's something that would allow flexibility for families who can't afford to live off of the reduced amount. Yeah, I like that you're playing. That's good. It makes it more interesting. That's our position.
Oui, Jérôme Labbé, Radio-Canada.
Radio-Canada.
Oui.
Donc, sur ces coupures que ferait le Parti
With
conservateur
respect
de
to the
25%
cuts
pour
proposed
diminuer
by
l'aide,
the Conservative government, 25% less for foreign aid, could that change help the countries that really need it? Is that the type of approach that you would take with respect to foreign aid? No. I think they're just trying to create a distraction and take away from the focus on the real issues. The Conservatives are always trying to change the channel. And the fact is, there are a lot of people here in Canada earning a lot of money. They're ultra rich and they're not paying their fair share. So our focus is really to target that and say the wealthiest Canadians have to pay their share fair. We also have tax havens out there, and we're going to tackle those tax havens. We have never heard the Conservatives talk about tax havens. They have never talked about the wealthiest or the ultra-rich people in this society. That's where we can go and get the revenue we need for social programs and social services. So that is what is going to be our focus. I think that's absolutely necessary because we know that with that revenue we can fund all kinds of social services that are needed. You're leaving British Columbia today to return to Eastern Canada, and you will be participating in the first real debate tomorrow on TVA. So I'd like to know how you see that debate working, particularly since Justin Trudeau was not present at the previous debate. Well, I'm looking forward to having an opportunity to confront Mr. Trudeau because he has broken promises. He's broken promises to young people who need concrete action. He's turned his backs on them by buying a pipeline, and I'm really anxious to have an opportunity to give young people and other Canadians, to give them a voice. And to say to him, it was wrong what you did, we can do better, we can work together. to build social programs like pharmacare. And again, he's turned his back on that kind of idea. People need affordable housing, and I'm anxious to be able to talk about that and how we can build those new affordable housing units. People are facing a lot of problems that we can also focus on, and I'm really pleased to have a chance to do that.
Back to foreign aid. So Canada's aid level is far below the international target of 0.7%. Mr. Scheer wants to drop that even further. I'm wondering what you would do. How would you change Canada's foreign aid? Would you increase it, and would you get it back to that 0.7% level?
Yeah, I believe that that's where we should be going with our international aid. We should be contributing with the standards that have been set. This is what people expect, that global partners should be contributing to help out people around the world. The Canadians expect that. I think what Mr. Scheer is doing is a distraction. There are incredibly wealthy people in Canada that are not paying their fair share. There are offshore tax havens. There are the ultra-rich who are hiding their wealth. We need to make sure that they're paying their fair share, and that's why we are putting forward real measures, concrete measures, to ask the wealthiest in our country to pay their fair share, with a super wealth tax on those who've got fortunes of over 20 million. We've got a plan to end offshore tax havens, CEO stock option loopholes. That's where we need to put our emphasis. The fact that Mr. Scheer is, I get them mixed up sometimes, Mr. Scheer is ignoring this issue entirely is not really surprising. He'd rather talk about countries around the world that are struggling and cutting aid to them, rather than talking about the wealthiest Canadians that are continuing to not pay their fair share here in Canada. Those at the very top, we're going to say you need to contribute a bit more to our great country.
So you would commit to meeting that 0.7% target from the United Nations?
Absolutely.
Juste en français, la même question. Donc, si je comprends bien, vous auriez
As I understand it, you would have the reverse approach from the Conservatives. Well, I don't think that's really very surprising. We have the opposite approach from the Conservatives on just about every single issue. We want to increase funding for healthcare services. We want to increase investments in affordable housing. And the Conservatives want to cut all of that. Not just investments in foreign countries, they also want to cut investments in families and in workers. So it's not surprising that they want to cut. That's exactly what the Conservatives do. We want to tackle societal programs such as inequality, and it takes courage to say, okay, you're ultra-rich, you're going to pay your fair share, and that's what we want to do.
So a follow-up on foreign aid. Mr. Scheer says that Canada should not be funding major middle-income and high-income countries. Do you think that's the same thing?
I think, again, Mr. Scheer is very skillfully distracting people. If we want to talk about revenue, the whole point of his conversation is to talk about revenue. It is shameful that he's talking about cutting foreign aid when there are massive inequalities in our country, where there's just a couple of families that own the combined wealth of 3 provinces. When there is so much income and wealth inequality in our country, the fact that he's talking about cutting foreign aid is a distraction. It misses the point. He's missing the whole plot here. We've got massive inequality in our country, and we have to ask those at the very top, the ultra-rich, to pay their fair share. We've got to make sure that we're ending offshore tax havens. There's no conversation about that. I'm not surprised that Mr. Scheer's not talking about that, but that should be where we talk. What are we doing to end offshore tax havens? What are we doing to end the tax loopholes that mean the wealthiest in our country do not pay their fair share? That is what we need to get at, and that's how we can get revenue that we can invest in social programs.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Last night in Calgary, the City Council voted to oppose Bill 21 in Quebec. Calgary's mayor has spoken out saying the federal leaders haven't spoken out enough on this issue. So what is your reaction to the fact that a growing number of municipalities are willing to go further than any of the federal leaders are on opposing this bill?
So there's a court challenge right now, and that court challenge is very important, and I don't want to politically interfere with the court challenge. I don't want to in any way jeopardize the success of that court challenge. It's an important challenge. And I've made it really clear, I'm going to Quebec. I'm going to be going to Quebec again. Every time I go to Quebec, guess what they ask me? What's your position on 21? And guess what I say? I'm opposed to it. I think it's hurtful. I think it's divisive. I think it sends a message that people don't belong for what they look like. And I'm going to Quebec and saying, I love the French language. I grew up learning it when I was a kid in Windsor, and I love building a better country by working together. I want to defend the environment, and I got a turban and beard. And I'm hoping that being in Quebec, by campaigning in Quebec and showing them what I look like and my values, it sends a message that, hey, maybe it's not a good idea to discriminate people based on the way they look. And that's what my presence does.
So what do you think of municipalities speaking out against this bill? Do you support them in opposing it?
That's great. It's great to see people across Canada making it clear that they don't think this is a good way to go.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Oui. Donc je pense que
yes, I think
bon que
it's a good idea for municipalities to be condemning the actions taken by the Quebec government, because this bill is discriminatory, and it really saddens me, and that's exactly the reason why I'm in Quebec. I go to Quebec, I talked about the issues, I talk about the environment, about plans to help people, about universal pharmacare. Yes, I wear a turban, but I can advance these issues, and I hope that my presence there in Quebec will show that a bill that discriminates against people based on their appearance is not the right way to manage a province. It's not the right way to have an inclusive society.
This is your 8th consecutive day in British Columbia. That amount of time is fairly unheard of for a federal leader in one region. As important as British Columbia is, what's your thinking behind spending that much time here at the expense of some of your battleground ridings in Ontario and Quebec?
I love this place. It's awesome to be here. I love spending time in BC. We've had a great time on the island and a great time in the Lower Mainland, but most importantly, there's a lot of challenges that people are faced with. So we had an opportunity to talk about the housing crisis and how we would tackle that by building 500,000 new homes, and how we would help families out right away with a rental subsidy. We had a chance to talk about the environment and go to climate crisis rallies and talk about how we would end fossil fuel subsidies, protect the coastline, defend against things like the Trans Mountain, which we're opposed to. And we're going to continue to campaign across Canada. We spent a lot of time in Ontario in the first part of the campaign. We're heading back east now. I'm excited about what this campaign can do for Canada. It's an opportunity to talk about a different way of doing things. Mr. Trudeau has turned his back on families. He's turned his back on pharmacare, on childcare. We're saying you don't have to do that. You don't have to settle for less. We can build a pharmacare that's universal and childcare that's universal.
Are you planning to spend the same amount of time in Ontario and Quebec?
I would love to spend time across Canada as much as I can. I'm looking forward to being in Ontario next, and we're going to keep on spending our time speaking with Canadians, focusing on their issues, and focusing on solutions, real solutions to their problems. And we've got a lot that we can offer.
Sorry. Hi, Mr. Singh. So here in British Columbia, we have an NDP government that's pretty proud of having brought the LNG Canada project to Kitimat, British Columbia. They say that's bringing 10,000 jobs to this province. Would a federal NDP government be interested and as enthusiastic as our provincial government here is at developing liquefied natural gas industry here in British Columbia?
So my focus is on ending our fossil fuel subsidies and investing in clean and renewable energy. And that's where I want to put my emphasis. Yeah.
So, Mr. Singh, you have been campaigning in BC so long. So how about your riding? What is the first and foremost thing you want to do to your riding?
In Burnaby, the biggest concern that I hear at the doorsteps is housing. People are really worried about the cost of housing, and that's why we are really making it a massive priority. It's not just a major issue here in BC, in Burnaby, it's a major issue across Canada, but we want to invest in building 500,000 new affordable homes, building cooperatives and non-market housing, investing and encouraging that there's more affordable housing. We also want to help out families right away who need help right now. And that's why we're putting in place a rental subsidy that could help up to 500,000 families with up to $5,000 of support for families who are just on the edge and they can't afford their place and they need a little extra support. We want to be there for them.
Also, you talk about investing. The other political parties also talk about investing. How can the voters differentiate that your investing is smarter?
So it's not actually the case. The other parties don't want to invest. Mr. Scheer and the Conservatives want to cut They're going to cut services. They're going to cut funding. They're going to make life more expensive. They're going to give a little bit of a tax cut, but then they're going to cut all the services and all the funding that families need. And it's going to cost people a lot more. It's going to be great for the richest, but it's going to be hard for everyone else. So that's what Conservatives are going to do. The Liberals are going to talk in this campaign a lot about helping families out. They're going to make a lot of promises, but they did the exact same thing in 2015, and they didn't deliver on a lot of promises. And for example, the Liberal Party has been promising pharmacare for 22 years. They've been promising childcare for 26 years. They have not delivered. They will not deliver because they're too interested in helping the wealthiest get ahead, and it's making everyone else's life harder. They're going to try to scare you into settling for less, and I want to let people know you do not have to settle for less. New Democrats will build more affordable housing. We'll expand our health care to include pharmacare for all, dental coverage for those families that earn less than $70,000. We're going to cover their dental care. We're going to make sure we defend the environment while we create hundreds and thousands of jobs. That's our plan. That's what makes us different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Singh, can I have you in Punjabi with today's announcement?
Sure. ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਸਹੂਲਤ ਆਪਾਂ ਚਾਈਲਡ ਕੇਅਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਈਲਡ ਕੇਅਰ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਹੂਲਤ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਫਾਰਮਰ ਕੇਅਰ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਿਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਦੇ ਖਰਚੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਕਲੂਡ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਸਸਤੇ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੁਝ ਸਟੈਪਸ ਹੈਗੇ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਪੈਕੂਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਫੋਰਨ ਬਾਇਰ ਟੈਕਸ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਮਨੀ ਲਾਂਡਰਿੰਗ ਨੂੰ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਨਾਲ ਦਾ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ 5 ਲੱਖ ਨਵੇਂ ਅਫੋਰਡੇਬਲ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਉਣੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਮੌਕਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਘਰ ਖਰੀਦ ਸਕਣ, ਘਰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਣ। ਲਿਬਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਵਾਅਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੀਤੇ। ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 22 ਸਾਲ ਲਈ ਉਹਨੇ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਫਾਰਮਰ ਕੇਅਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਗੇ। 26 ਸਾਲ ਲਈ ਉਹ ਬੜੇ ਵਾਅਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਚਾਈਲਡ ਕੇਅਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਗੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਚਿਰ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ। ਲਿਬਰਲ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ। ਉਹ ਆਮ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ, ਉਹ ਅਮੀਰਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ। ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਨੁਮਾਇੰਦਗੀ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਸਹੂਲਤ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਹਤਰ ਬਣਾਉਣਗੇ।
Une dernière en français, peut-être tout simplement nous rappeler la position du NPD.
Could you remind us of the NDP position on web giants? Do you think this should be a source of revenue, and what would be your strategy?
Oui, merci.
Thank you for that question. We have proposed a number of ways to go about that, but of course people have to be on an equal footing. So that means web giants have to pay their fair share. We will put a tax on web giants that includes Facebook, Google, and other such services. And they got a free ride with the Conservatives and Liberals without having to pay anything. And that has created a lot of inequality when it comes to local journalism and local media. It's created a major issue. And if there's a loophole that gives them a big advantage when it comes to publishing material, we are going to close that loophole. And what we primarily want to do is to put everyone on an equal footing and invest in culture. We want to help local media, and we can do that. The major step would be to put everyone on an equal footing.
What's your focus of tomorrow night's debate, especially in a province where you're struggling to survive?
We're going to continue to make the question really clear about what this election's about. And for us, the election's about who's in it for you, who's fighting for you. And it's really clear that Liberals and Conservatives don't fight for Canadians. They don't work for Canadians. They work for the richest. And they've continued to make decisions that helped out those at the very top. They've made benefits that continue to help enrich those at the very top, and that's made life harder for everyone else. It's made life more difficult for everyone else. And I want folks to know I'm in it for you. I'm fighting for you. I want to make your life better. I don't work for the rich. I don't work for the wealthy. I work for you. Families that need help, I'm there for you. I'm going to put in place childcare. Unlike Liberals who promised it for 26 years and haven't delivered it, I want to deliver it right away. Unlike Liberals who talked about pharmacare for 22 years, I have a plan to bring it in within 1 year. We're going to bring that in and make life better for people. Unlike Liberals who talk about the housing crisis and then invest 19% less than Mr. Harper did, I'm going to invest massively in building more affordable housing and helping out those families that need help right now with the rental subsidy. That's what I want Canadians to know. Who's in it for them? New Democrats.
We're about about halfway through the campaign. What is it like being stuck third in the polls and things just are not budging?
I think about what it's like for Canadians who are being told that they've got to settle for less. I'm not worried about myself, I'm worried about them. And I know that we can do a lot better, and I'm confident we can do a lot better. And I'm worried that Conservatives are going to cut services that families need, and Liberals are going to tell people to be afraid of that and to settle for less. And I want Canadians not to settle for less. You deserve a lot better. You deserve a lot better, and I'm going to deliver that for you. I'm in it for you, I'm going to fight for you, and I'm confident if we keep on working together, there is so much that we can offer. And I'm really focused on those solutions. Pharmacare for all, dental care, housing investments.
How can you fight for people if you're not going to form government?
That's my plan, is to form government, and that's what I'm going to fight for. I mean, I don't care if the odds are against me. That's for a lot of people, that's their reality. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm worried about not having a chance to make life better for people, and I'm going to fight hard for that. But I'm not worried about where I'm at. I'm worried about where people are at, and I want to keep on letting people know I am in it for you. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to make your life better. I'm going to make sure we put commitments in place that put you at the heart of everything we do. The Liberals haven't done that. The Conservatives certainly won't do that. They both are working for the rich. I don't work for the rich. I work for you, and I'm confident people will see in me a champion for them. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Merci. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all the friends in the room today, too. Thank you. Thank you.